Congressman Ro Khanna says we have to close some loopholes. Seriously, check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. That's the 17th District of California, the Silicon Valley area, and is a vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. His website is Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov. His Twitter handle is Rep Ro, R-O, Rep Ro Khanna. And he will be with us for the entire hour, taking your calls at 202-808-9925. Congressman Khanna, just to kick it off, what's on your mind? What are you looking at right now, or what in particular would you like to share with our listeners to start the show, or the hour?
Well, two things, Tom. First, the infrastructure bill that President Biden has put forth, we need to make sure that it's bold enough, that it goes big enough. The reality is that $2 trillion over 10 years is not enough to have the investments in the smart grid that we need, the $2 trillion, frankly, that we need just in solar and wind generation. And if you look at it, $2 trillion is what we spent just in 1 year in one bill on COVID relief. And the pandemic had a negative impact of $16 trillion. Well, climate change is going to have even a bigger negative impact. So we need to anticipate that and make the critical investments now. And second, of course, it's horrific what's going around the country in terms of voter restrictions. We have to get H.R. 1 passed morally, substantively, to give people equal rights, but also electorally. I mean, Speaker Pelosi has said, and I agree with her, that we will not be able to compete fairly in 2022, 2024 if we let Republicans continue to disenfranchise voters.
So I totally agreed. With regard to the infrastructure bill, I know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been probably the most outspoken in the media anyway, saying $10 trillion over 10 years is really where we should be at on this. Do you have a specific opinion? And how do you think this process is going to play out? The Biden administration, I believe yesterday, was very clear in saying that this is still a process and we haven't arrived at any final numbers.
Well, she's right. I mean, $10 trillion is not just a number she pulled out of thin air. It's a number that a lot of the environmental groups, Sierra Club, the NRDCC, the Sunrise Movement, Senator Markey have said is necessary. Frankly, it's the down payment. It's not even sufficient to have the investment in renewable energy, in energy efficiency, in storage that we need to have any chance of meeting the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change target to not have temperature rise above 2 degrees. So she's not just making this stuff up. She's pulling the numbers that the experts have come up with, and she's pointed out that we've spent almost $5 trillion in 1 year on COVID. So we have the ability to do this if we have the political will. And I think that Biden is still in a fluid process. The challenge is I just hope the fluidity doesn't go the other way. What I'm concerned about is that they do something just for roads and bridges and something too narrow, and we lose a lot of our priorities. So it's a struggle right now to make sure that the fluidity means that progressives have our priorities in there and not that the bill is further is restricted.
So last question, and then we'll pick up our calls. So does that mean that now is an important time for people to be calling 202-224-3121 and asking for their particular member of the House or their one of their two senators and saying we need a bigger infrastructure bill, please?
Well, Tom, as you know, I can't encourage people to lobby their members, but what I can say is this. This is the critical 3-week period that's going to determine whether we go bold and big on infrastructure or whether we're going to have a narrow bill. And narrow, not just trying to get Republican votes. We could have a narrow bill because that's what the administration thinks is doable in terms of our caucus's appetite for taxing the rich and taxing corporations. So when we're making this argument as progressives, we need to make it clear that, yes, we want to go big, and two, we support revenue raising by getting corporations that have often been paying 0 or under 10% tax to pay a bigger tax, what they owe, and to raise taxes on the ultra-rich, the wealthy, which they can afford. Just one quick point. I didn't realize the details of this. I'm sure you know, Tom, because you've followed all this economics. But if you are, let's say, have $1 million of stock, and then you keep that until you pass away, and the stock goes up to $10 million, and then your heirs inherit that $10 million, they don't have to pay capital gains on the $1 to $10 million. They get the $10 million without any of the capital gains. That's a huge loophole that Bernie Sanders and others are saying, let's close. Like that, there are ways to raise the revenue, and we need to make clear that we have the resources if we close these loopholes.